get to work on something so good. But now I'm like, I'm in the Star Wars universe getting to do that. That's amazing. So now it's like, okay, bring it. This is brilliant.
It has been a whirlwind because we're finally realizing that we're actually in Star Wars.
It's like we got here yesterday and we were like, okay, we're doing this thing in this junket, and then each person that we speak to, every face that arrives on this screen is so excited about having had their experience watching this show that we're in, and we're like, oh my God, I think this is actually really good as well.
It's kind of amazing because we filmed it like 2 years ago, basically, and that was in the middle of the pandemic, and so a lot of the kind of like context of realizing that you're in this like 50-year legacy thing, like wasn't really there.
About it.
Like and so it's just the penny's dropping.
Yeah, and it seems like you all like are not lying. Usually, like, because you can tell when you've been interviewed as much as like actors get interviewed. I can tell when journalists are like lying and going, yeah, so well done. This is really good. But you guys seem genuinely excited. So
she hasn't said anything yet.
Oh yeah, but she looks happy.
I think we were both doing plays at the time, and Tony had both seen us in our kind of respective plays, and this thing came about, and you were hesitant, and I was umming and ahhing as well. And
because I had done like this pilot for Game of Thrones, which I remember even when I signed up to that, I was like, okay, this is a big departure from what I do, which is theater, you know, but okay, let's go for it. And then it wasn't picked up, so I took that as a sign. I was like, I'm not meant to. I knew I was right. I'm not meant to do anything like that. It's not my style. And then Star Wars called, and I was like, okay, well, I'll meet Tony Gilroy. and also I don't, because again, my passion is theater, I'm not up and into, like, I didn't really know who Tony was, if I'm honest. And so when we were speaking and he was telling me about himself, I was kind of going, why is he talking about himself so much? Like, shouldn't I be pitching myself? And then the casting director was like, no, he really likes you. I think he wants you to do this. And I thought, oh my God, I've never been in this situation before where someone of his caliber was like excited to work with. Like, sometimes you're made to jump through hoops to prove to people in positions of power, but this guy had such respect, and I'm sure it was the same for you. He came to see work that we did on stage and decided, I want those two people to be in this show that I've written. So, like, that was such an offering of, like, I don't know, that felt really like a really great place to start. I wasn't being asked to sell myself, and then he allowed me to read some scripts, and I read the scripts and I was like, this guy can write, man. This is insane. I'm not even in these episodes and I want to know what happens. And then he told me what I was gonna do, and I thought, yep, I'll do that. If Tony Gilroy is writing anything, I'm happy to be at that party. Like, he's pretty special.
Yeah, and he was also taking Star Wars to a completely different territory from what I knew before. And so when I read those scripts, I was like, oh, wow, man, socio-political drama that's also a thriller and a like love story and also all this stuff and also Star Wars. Then I decided to rewatch Rogue One before saying yes, and I was like, oh, this is a really good film. Yeah. This is like really clever, it's really gritty, it's very real.
It's got a lot of heart.
And it's got a lot of heart, yeah, and I was like, wow, and
because I think when you've worked on stage for as long as we've worked on stage, like it's like the attention to detail you have to build a performance that has to last for up to 6 months every night and 8 times a week. The writing has to have something that holds you, otherwise it stops being in any way interesting. And so to have that experience of something that you could mine for so long in Star Wars was like, that doesn't really happen very often. Like we were saying yesterday, I don't know if this kind of thing would ever come around again. You're so lucky in your career if you get, like on stage, I've had a few like really great theatrical moments, but when you get it on screen in something as vast as the Star Wars universe, I'm kind of in awe at what has happened.
Yeah.
And now I feel so, like I felt privileged before to get to work on something so good, but now I'm like, I'm in the Star Wars universe getting to do that. That's amazing. So now it's like, okay, bring it. This is brilliant.
They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. They're everywhere. They're watching me now.
Soon enough, these days will end.
I was on this incredibly detailed, wonderful, amazing set that had been built that's like 8 acres long and like
360.
completely 360. You can go anywhere, anything can be filmed.
Yes.
Every single nook and cranny had just been completely detailed. And there was this crowd milling about and stuff, and they parted, and then there was just line of like 30 stormtroopers. And I hadn't seen any up until that point, and it just was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm in Star Wars, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
God, it keeps hitting me. I
It's
keep having
just
these
like in
moments. I'm also
waves.
delirious, but I keep having these moments of going, hang on, this is actually happening now. This we worked on 2 years ago, like Kyle said, in a pandemic. So when I look back even at what that meant, like even the bubbles and the like, how intense it must have been for that crew to work under those conditions too, because we had a different experience because, you know, we could be, because we were tested so much, we could be maskless when we were in scenes and all of that. But I remember it's the first time I worked with a crew that I couldn't really get to know because they were in full PPE all the time on these sets. Like I'm just so grateful that we still managed to make it despite that. So now it feels like a very joyful moment where we get to see this thing that was created in such a dark time, actually. And we managed to be part of something that was made that is going to hopefully bring a lot of people a lot of joy.
The other thing that reminds us, I think, that we're in Star Wars, that each of our respective like nieces and nephews find out, or we speak to them, and they just like go nuts. They go crazy.
And I think mine didn't really. They hear of me working a bit, and then I'm in Star. But now, when they saw the trailer, like
it's come out.
my brother said, I was at home recently, and my brother came over and he said the twins have asked if they can have their photo with you. And I love that, like. His character has to go home and live with his mother.
Yeah, it's perfect.
At a certain point. Like, in what world? Like, you're building this kind of, you know, dun, 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 dun. I've got to go home and live with my mom. It's like, wow, this
Turn
is...
into some, like, awful domestic
it's so fresh.
drama. Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
It's like a like anonymous apartment, you know, in a massive, you know, star, and it's just.
I watched that
of
brilliant.
course, it's perfect.
I went to the cinema to see the new Minions movie with my nephews the other day, and it's like, you know, the Minions prequel, so it's like setting up how they all came to be, and I was like, oh my God, that's us. Gru is like. He's trying to be a villain, but he's a kid. He's like a little kid, and he promises he's going to do all these bad things. And I was like, that's basically me and Kyle.
So good.
They're baby villains.
Yeah. Exactly. They're adolescent, like, you know, middle
Toddler
school,
villains.
Petulant, like, wannabe villains, and they're figuring it out, man. And that's what was really attractive.
There will be no rules going forward.
People are standing up. That's what a reckoning sounds like.
Like, I showed up on set and I could not stop messing with the gun. And I had a scene where I'm walking down the stairs and my hands were doing all of this. And Ben came over and he said, darling, it's a bit swishy. And I was like, really? And he said, do you want to see? And I love when a director lets me see my work, because like a painter, I want to see what I'm doing, and maybe I could raise an eyebrow there and do I love being part of that process. And he showed me that when she was moving a lot, all her power, I was diluting everything. And he said, just try maybe putting your hands behind your back. And so I did the scene with my arms like this, and then I watched that, and I was like, oh my God, Ben, the simplest thing. And so then it just became, Dedra stays in this really uniformed position. It was quite painful after a while, poor me. But it was and it was all about making sure that the uniform looked perfect. And because if you sit like this, you look a mess if you're in an Imperial.
Yeah.
So everything becomes about how they hold themselves. And then when they meet, it was like, oh my God.
And it's a similar thing for Syril. I mean, as he goes home, you get introduced to his mother and see, you know, why he became the person that he does, and that appearances are kind of everything. But also, a different director, Toby Haynes, he just made an offhand comment before we had even started filming. They were using a reference photo to try and figure out hairstyles and stuff. He's like, I like this one, because it looks like you're chewing on a wasp. And I was like, that's it. Like, everything about Syril is just contained in.
So good.
You know, and that containment that they both have hides so much.
Inside.
Yeah,
because in the trailer, that is exactly
wasp
what
hive.
you look like. When you turn, like that really close-up shot of you, and there's something that you do, and then your eyes, you're doing such amazing side-eye, but it actually does look like you're chewing a wasp, or you're at least holding a wasp in your mouth.
Yeah, I had a little one. Yeah.
How did you prepare? I went out and I got a wasp, and I just put it in my mouth.
I kept it alive, but you know.